But you may say, we asked you to talk about Macbeth. What has that to do with Black fatherhood? Hello everyone, Dr. Leah here, in for Mr. Anderson, who will be along on the next performance. We are in New York City on our child's college road trip, and I just had to stop in and see Macbeth. Now, about Black fatherhood and Macbeth, the most meaningful, the most beautiful scene in the play today was when Ross comes to England to tell Macduff that his children are dead. Macduff is played by Grantham Coleman, who I will put this video link in the notes to this video. He was absolutely fantastic. Throughout the show, he was really tough, like hyper masculine, but when he finds out that his children have died, he absolutely goes to pieces. And when we think about color conscious versus colorblind casting, the meaning and importance of having this Black father who is absolutely distraught about the loss of his children. People shouldn't have to do this anymore, but just as we have, as you can see here, these outings showing how prevalent Black fatherhood actually is in the United States, despite all white stereotypes. Having Grantham Coleman play Macduff and just the absolute misery and tragedy that he greeted the news of his children's death with was really powerful, and I think it lent to that image that still needs to be, or it helped undo that image that unfortunately a lot of white folks are still stuck with. So absolutely be on the lookout for Grantham Coleman because he was fantastic. This line here where Malcolm, who is the son of the king who's been slain, when he finds out that his children have been killed, that Macduff's children have been killed, Malcolm says, "Dispute it like a man." And Macduff says, "I shall do so, but I must also feel it as a man." Those lines were rendered in an absolutely just touching and poignant way, allowing for this kind of alternative masculinity that doesn't have to deny feeling. So again, this was a really powerful moment. We also have to say that Ruth Negga was incredible. Her portrayal of Lady Macbeth was not as like a manipulative viper, but as a powerful and like highly responsible person. I think she demonstrated the ways that women are often responsible for the social and emotional, like, well-being and image of a family. At the times when Macbeth is like losing his shit, she's the one who shows up, gives face, acts like everything's going well. Her ability to act, right, or to fake her way through interacting with the king that she knows is going to be killed, to me speaks less of her duplicity and more to just her like emotional resilience. I will also just say she was so vivacious and engaging. I want to watch more shows that have her in it. Ruth Negga is the child of an Ethiopian and an Irish woman, and she grew up in Ireland, and her lovely accent was really nice. Of course, we had Daniel Craig, who is James Bond, and he did quite well. He's a Shakespearean actor on top of being a James Bond actor. Very enjoyable. But definitely, I think Ruth Negga held up the show. Like she, not just her character was doing the weight, but she herself as an actress was really carrying the show. So a couple of things to say about this particular production of Macbeth. Mr. Anderson and I are looking at how shows are representing diversity, how they're finding ways to reach out to 21st century audiences, how they remain relevant. And so I just want to give you guys a little bit of information about what that looked like. So first of all, the show was introduced by this gentleman here, Michael Patrick Thornton. Before the show began, there was a table on the left of the stage, and there were people that were preparing food. They were peeling hard-boiled eggs and chopping them, peeling carrots, kind of just chit-chatting with each other. NPR was playing on the radio, like it was supposed to look like just any Sunday morning. And so this Mr. Thornton wheels out and addresses the audience and talks about how during the plague of 1606, Shakespeare, while he was in confinement and quarantine, wrote 3 important plays, including Lear and Macbeth, and that Macbeth was commissioned by King James, who was deathly afraid of witches. He had a nightmare about witches beheading his mother and her head floating in the sky, and as you know, she was eventually beheaded. He also went out on an armada and was the only ship to survive, which he also attributed to witches. He talked about how we don't call Macbeth Macbeth when we're in the theater, but we call it the Scottish play because of the long history of it being considered bad luck. And we also linked to an interview with Sam Gold about what bad luck befell Macbeth, this particular production on Broadway. So let me tell you a few more things. So this was, some critics, as I was reading about this performance, thought this was quite condescending to have someone come and explain. But Broadway is for everybody, and there are a lot of people who came to see this show because of Daniel Craig, right? There are plenty of people who came to see it not because they're huge Shakespeare fans, but because James Bond was playing Macbeth, right? Just a bit about the setting. I forgot to mention that the people on the stage at the beginning of the show, after we have our presentation by Mr. Thornton, a man is hung upside down, and everyone's like really nice, like, hey buddy, there's take one for the team, thank you. They tie something to his feet, hang him upside down, and then slit his throat. And then Maria Vicia, who plays Polly on Orange is the New Black, she was also an excellent witch and Lady Macduff, takes a spoonful of the blood from the neck of the man they've hung upside down and dumps it in the egg and carrot and onion mixture that they were cooking before that. So it definitely adds to kind of like a surprise, gross wow factor. So a little bit more about the set. If you see behind you, or behind these actors, I should say, there is a black brick wall with lots of pipes, and the whole set looked like kind of a black box theater. The floor is black, walls are black. All we see is what appears to be like the back of the theater, this brick wall with a couple of doors. And it was really sparse. There were just sometimes some tables, a couple of chairs, and then what was really interesting was that 2 of the witches, and there were 5 witches in the coven rather than just 3, 2 of them had smoke machines and would follow characters and blow smoke machines in specific moments that were supposed to be more supernatural, which is pretty cool. So this black, rather sparse stage, it seems like no work has gone into it until the very end of the show when Macbeth is all alone, everyone around him has died, and he realizes that Macduff is on his way and that the trees, the forest has moved in, and all of a sudden this back wall lights up red and pushes toward him until Macbeth is just within a few feet of the audience and the wall is right against his back, which is quite impressive. Like, you got used to this, the stage that looked like they were in practice, like that all the actors were at stage practice until this very last moment, and it was a good way to unsettle expectations. Another thing that's worth commenting on is in the play, Macduff beheads Macbeth. In this case, Macduff stabs him in the crotch. And it's pretty interesting as he's taking his time to bleed out. It certainly was a comment on masculinity that I don't know. I guess I invite you guys to interpret it. What might have been their reason for stabbing Macbeth in the crotch, if it's symbolic in what particular ways. But anyway, you can see him here with the blood coming from his crotch as he's going to take his bow. Lastly, they end the play. So when Macduff is about to behead him, the lights go out, and then they come back up, and everyone's got bowls, and they're about to eat the gross witch's porridge that they had made at the beginning of the show. Well, I can't find any images of them sitting down and eating porridge, but they all sit down in the middle, and this young woman, whose name is Bobby McKenzie, she pours out this bowl of really gross-looking porridge and sings a song that goes something like, "If I had known it wouldn't be perfect," or "I wish I would have known it wasn't meant to be perfect," which is an interesting commentary way to close the show. Yeah, I guess I'm going to try to find the lyrics, and maybe we can have a discussion later about what did the director want? What was he trying to say about this particular production and this particular play by talking about having wanted something to be perfect? Just some final thoughts about what are the themes of this particular production, and what stuck out to me, a line that Macbeth said was that when you've done ill, that sometimes an illness can only be made stronger with worse. And he says that as he's already killed Macduff's family. And I have a saying that I don't have to, if I see a dead end sign, I don't have to walk to the end of the road to check, is it really a dead end? If I see a dead end sign, I can believe it. And this play seemed to be Macbeth constantly wanted to disregard the dead end sign that's right in front of his face. He knows that what he's doing is wrong, but he wants so much to believe that somehow if he does another wrong turn, it's somehow going to make a right. I think just the heaviness of conscience, when we choose to do something that we know conflicts with our values, we can't anticipate the outcome. We can't anticipate what kinds of consequences we're going to have. We can think we know, but a lot of times the implications for choosing to do something we know isn't right for us can be much greater than we anticipated. And for this Macbeth, every turn led to a worse turn. His unwillingness to deal with reality also showed up when the doctor is letting him know that Lady Macbeth is unwell, and basically that she's mentally ill, right? And that it's her spirit that is weakening her. And he's like, okay, cool. Well, cure her. Just get it done. And his expectation that this thing is gonna magically get better when nothing else in his life is. It's that willingness to hold on to prophecy that he's been told, even though he's got this real sneaking suspicion that it's not true. So thank you for joining me here in I think I'm in the Hyatt Hotel lobby with kind of not great pop music playing behind me and people talking all around. Looking forward to doing this whole road trip with you guys. Thanks for joining me.